Hi guys. So, I just wanted to go over my story of how I became pregnant when I was 17. So, obviously you know how I got pregnant. But so we're just going to start like from the very beginning. So I've never really had a regular period, and I mean, I was on different kinds of birth control and things since I was like 13, trying to make my period regular and to help with my bleeding, because when I did get my period, it was really bad. Like, I would have to just lay in bed for 2 days, and then I would be able to get up and like kind of do some things, and then it'd be over. But so, me and my boyfriend got together when I was 15, 6 days after I turned 15. And then we broke up for a little bit, and then we got back together. And some things happened at my house to where I was not allowed to stay there anymore. And I don't have a lot of family where I live because my parents moved here whenever they got pregnant with me. So I live in Florida. Most of my family lives in Ohio. So my grandma and my great-grandma and grandpa lived here, but I couldn't stay with them for different reasons. So I ended up staying at my boyfriend's house because his mom and dad had known me for 2 years, and I don't know, I was like their other kid. So they let me stay there, and I ended up getting pregnant. So how I found out I was pregnant is me and my boyfriend were driving home one night after I got off work, and I just looked at him and I was like, when was my last period? He was like, I don't know. And I was like, I don't know either. It's like, maybe we should get a test just to... That was my cat. It's like, maybe we should get a test just to rule that out, just to make sure. Well, we get a test. We go home. His mom and dad aren't there yet. I go in the bathroom, pee on the stick, and you know how they say it takes like sometimes 1 minute to like 5 minutes for results? No. I peed on it and that thing was like, boom, you're pregnant. You're pregnant. So I looked at it, and then I look at the box and I look at it again. I'm like, no, no. So I get another stick out, pee on that stick, same thing. And then Eric comes in the bathroom door, my husband, now husband. He opens the bathroom door. What does it say? What does it say? And I'm like, get out, just get out. I don't want to talk about it. Leave me alone. This can't be happening. So literally as soon as I found out, his mom and dad pulled into the driveway. So I just ran into his bedroom and laid down, and I'm like, oh my God. Like, what just happened? I'm pregnant. And mind you, since I couldn't stay at my house, I wasn't allowed to have contact with my mom either. Like, we didn't have a restraining order against each other, but I don't know why, but they told us that we were not allowed to speak to each other. I was not allowed to go to the house. I was not allowed to be around them. So, I couldn't tell my mom. So I called my friend who had a baby. She had a doctor. So I just called her because I knew, like, my friend went there, she should be fine. So we go there, get an ultrasound and everything. Sure enough, I'm definitely pregnant. I was like 3 months pregnant and had no idea. And we didn't tell anybody except for my 2 best friends that I had been best friends with since elementary school. And I guess they went and told their parents, and then where I grew up, the town is this big. Everybody knows everybody. Everyone knows your business, okay? Apparently, they told their parents, and then their parents told my mom. So my mom messaged my boyfriend's mom and said, hey, I think Haley was pregnant. I think she had an abortion, da 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 da. Why she thought that, I'm not too sure. I don't really know. But so we got home that night, and his mom and dad sat us down, and they're like, is there anything you need to tell us? And we're like, no. And his mom looked at me and said, are you pregnant? And I just looked at him, and he looked at me, and I was like, no. And so we just played that on and played it on and played it on. And then finally one day he just told them, yeah, she's pregnant. We've already had, like, at that point we already had like 2 ultrasounds, like 4 doctor's appointments, and we were just secretly going to them. Because they weren't really in our business. They didn't really care what we did. So yeah, they found out. They were disappointed. Were they mad? No. And then 2 weeks later, we moved out. We moved into a friend's house of ours, and then I found a house that we could afford by ourselves, so we moved into that house. And then I turned 18, and when I turned 18, I was allowed to talk to my mom again. So I was probably like 6 months pregnant. I'm not really sure, but she called me like 7 o'clock in the morning that morning, and she had a new phone number. So I answered it, and I'm like, hello. She said, is this my daughter? I said, yeah. Well, who are you? Are you my mom? And so we both started crying because I knew she knew already. And she said, so are you really pregnant? And I said, yeah, I'm really pregnant. And I sent her the pictures of the ultrasound and everything. She was way more disappointed than anybody else. She was really upset because that's the one thing she always said scared her, is that I would end up getting pregnant. So we're living in our own little house and paying our bills and everything. And I was in high school when this happened. Obviously, I was 17 and I was working full time. I would get out of school and I'd go straight to work, and I'd get off work at 9 o'clock, and then I'd go to bed, do it all over again the next day. I worked 7 days a week. And on the weekends, I would work all day. So, did that, and then I had my son in December of 2015. Everybody was there. Everything was great. I went into labor at 7 o'clock that morning, and I didn't know. Well, my water broke, and I didn't know it was my water. So I called my mom and asked her, and she was like, no, that doesn't sound like it's your water breaking, because it was trickling out. It was like I was just peeing a little bit, like every hour. She's like, no, if it was your water breaking, it'd just be like a whole gallon of pee would come out. It's not really pee. PSA, it's not really pee. It's the fluid around the baby. Anyway, so I had a doctor's appointment at 4 o'clock. So at 4 o'clock, I went to that doctor's appointment, and I told them, like, I think maybe my water broke, but I don't know. So they checked, and they're like, yeah, your water broke. What time did that happen? I said 7 a.m. Mind you, it's 4 o'clock now in the afternoon. And they're like, oh, don't even go home. Leave here and go straight to the hospital. Because where my doctor was and where the hospital was is like 3 minutes. It's not that far. And I was like, well, I gotta go home, because I had a dog at home, and she was old. She was a rescue dog. She was 10 years old, and she had like problems to where she would go to the bathroom on the floor. I was like, I gotta go home, let my dog out, and I gotta get my stuff ready. I didn't even pack my bags yet because I'm a procrastinator. So I go home. I told my friend to meet me at the doctor's office in case I was in labor so she could drive me. So she did. She drove me home. We let the dog out, got all my stuff ready, went to the hospital, called Eric. I picked up my other friend from school. We drove to the school, and she came out so that she could go with us. And we get to the hospital. We sign a bunch of paperwork, and we get on the elevator. Boom, my water breaks all the way. In the middle of the elevator, there's like a puddle in the elevator. So embarrassing. So then we get into the room. I put on my little gown thing, and then everybody started showing up. My mom showed up, my grandma showed up, Eric showed up, his mom and dad showed up, Like 3 of Eric's friends showed up. I already had 2 friends there. I mean, my room was packed. Like, people just kept coming in. And they gave me some Pitocin to help speed it up since I didn't feel any contractions or anything, and I'd already been in labor that long. And so the contractions really started hitting hard. And mind you, I have a very, very, very low pain tolerance. So I was not having it, and then I have all these people in my room. My mom's trying to make me laugh, and I don't know if this ever happened to you, but if you laugh when you have a contraction, oh my God, feels like you're dying. So I started yelling at everybody, telling everyone to get out. And then, what time was it? Probably like midnight. No, probably a little bit before midnight. They're like, all right, you're ready to start pushing. And I got the epidural at 5 centimeters because I couldn't do it anymore. So I couldn't feel anything. My mom's holding this leg. Eric's mom is standing up here, and then Eric's holding this leg. And they're telling me to push, and I'm pushing, and I'm pushing, and I'm pushing, and I couldn't feel anything. So I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know if I'm doing anything. And the doctor's like, after probably like 45 minutes of pushing and literally nothing happening, the doctor's like, okay, we're going to shut off the epidural so that maybe you can feel some more, so that way you want to push. And I was like, okay, that's fine. I want to get this baby out. So they shut off the epidural. How they do that, no idea. So I keep pushing, and then I start feeling it, and I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, I have to push. So she's like, okay, just do whatever you feel like you need to do. Push, don't push, whatever you gotta do, do it. So I start pushing and pushing and pushing and pushing. And it was like every time I would stop pushing, it hurt a million times worse than when I was pushing. So I just kept pushing, and the doctor, finally, she looked at me and she said, okay, stop pushing. And I looked at her and I was like, I can't. Like, I have to push. Like, I need to. And she's like, okay, then go ahead, keep trying. So I keep trying, like another 20 minutes goes by, and she's like, no, you're done. You have to have a C-section. You can't keep doing this. The baby's been in the birth canal too long. We're risking, I think, infection. I don't know. Something could have happened. So I was like, I'm not having a C-section, because the whole entire time I was pregnant, I said, I'm terrified that I will have to have a C-section. So I'm screaming, like, I'm not having a C-section. I'm not doing it. Don't do that. No. And everyone's freaking out. My mom's crying. Eric's crying. Eric's mom is crying. And because I'm, like, screaming and telling them I'm not going to have a C-section. And they're like, no, you have to. So I keep trying to push. Still nothing's happening. And I was like, just, okay, I'm done. Give me the C-section, because obviously he's not coming out. I was in so much pain. I just wanted it to be over. So then they had me drink some sort of shot thing. I don't know what it's for. It tasted like a salty lemon. If you know what I'm talking about, then maybe you can tell me what it is. And then they wheeled me into the room. Eric put on his little gown and everything. And we get in there, and they gave me more medicine to make me numb, like a spinal tap. I don't know. It's one of those things. And apparently it was just too much for me to handle. So whenever you have a C-section, you're laying flat down on your back, and then they have things laying out on the bed for your arms to lay flat like this, because your whole body is numb. Like, everything is numb. You can't feel anything. And so I couldn't pick up my arms. I couldn't move anything. And all of a sudden I feel like I'm going to throw up. So I'm laying there, and I'm like, I'm going to throw up. I can't move. Like, I'm going to drown. I'm going to drown on my puke. And I'm crying, and it's just this big shit show. It was literally just a ginormous shit show. So I roll my head over, and I just puke and puke and puke and puke. I'm puking all over myself, all over the floor. It's disgusting. And finally, I was falling asleep while they were doing it. After I finished puking, I couldn't stay awake. Like, I think it was just like the mix of all of the drugs and everything, not like illegal drugs, you know, like hospital drugs that they gave me. I think I was out of it, completely out of it. So I started falling asleep, and Eric was freaking out, shaking me. He's like, wake up. I guess he told me he was scared I was going to die. I didn't feel like I was going to die, but I just felt extremely tired. Like I couldn't keep my eyes open. And then finally, I hear him cry, and I was like, oh, does he have a lot of hair? And Eric's like, I don't know, because he wasn't even looking at the baby. He was terrified that I was going to die. And I was like, go look at him. Like, go, I'm fine, just go. And he wouldn't. He had to stay right there next to me. And then they bring him to me and like lay him on my face right here. And then they take him out of the room. They took Eric out of the room and they started sewing me shut, or however they do it, glue, staples. I don't think I had staples. I think it was glue. But they took him into the room, and Eric got to hang out with him for a little bit, and then they took me in and I got to see him. But after I got done out of the C-section, I was shaking uncontrollably, like this. I mean, not like, ooh, shake, shake, shake. I was like this. Like my whole body was doing that. I was freezing cold. So they put a heating blanket on me, and that didn't do anything. They put 10 heated blankets on me for me to stop shivering so I could hold Brantley. And then all of my family came in, and they were like, what's wrong with his head? What's wrong with his head? And I was like, what are you talking about? What do you mean what's wrong with his head? And Eric took off his hat, and he had a cone head. Like his head just went like this, and there was like a ring like right here around his head. It was like a big dent into his head. And I was like, what's wrong with him? Why does he look like that? I'm crying, and the doctor's like, oh, don't worry, it's only because when you were pushing him out, when you were trying to push him out, that part got through, but nothing else was going through. So, you know, that part like formed to go through the canal. But that's the only reason why. If he would have pushed all the way through, it would have evened itself out. But his head went back to normal in like a week. He was fine. But yeah, that's what happened. And then I got pregnant again when I was 19. So if you'd like a story on that, let me know. This was kind of last minute and just thrown together. So I'm sorry if I was all over the place. I probably should have like wrote myself like some notes or something. But alright, thanks for watching. If you just found out you're pregnant or something and you need any advice or you have a question, let me know. Alright, bye guys.